Welcome to Careless Coder. Today we will revisit this thing. Motherfucker! So viewers who watched the last Vectrex episode saw that I had a problem creating this digital joystick. I had this resistor network that I found online and it looks right. I know I checked it against the original joystick schematics. It looks alright. So what was going on? So the schematic was alright, the wiring was correct. I checked it for half an hour and just couldn't see it. So the next morning I come in and I instantly noticed what I overlooked. This joystick, its switches are connected to a common ground. And in this wiring diagram, the switches are connected between the individual resistor networks. So when I found that out, I figured, I can actually make a better circuit that works with switches that have a common ground, but also, individual switches like this resistor network. And it's based around an op-amp in a differential amplifier configuration. So I will show you now how I did that. I will show you how I assembled the PCB, and that it's actually working. It's cool stuff. Op-amps rule, by the way. So here we are in KiCad 7. This is the first time for me using KiCad 7. I didn't use it since 5 when we did the digital analog converter, the Covox, for December last year. I really love the facelift and some quirky things that I ran into it are solved. It's really progressing nicely. So let's first start here. This is basically my arcade joystick, and this was the problem with that resistor network, because on the PCB they have a common ground, and I just soldered my wires to here, completely forgetting the fact that it had a common ground. And the next morning I see the 5 pins and I go like, oh my god, it's so obvious what I overlooked. And there's no way around it. So let's create this circuit. Now this is the heart of the circuit. This is what they call a differential amplifier. Or also a subtractor op-amp schematic. I like differential amplifier better because that is really what it does. Although yeah, it does subtract because you use the inverted and non-inverted interface. So basically I wire it up to be a one-time amplifier with plus and minus 5 volts, because here we need to have plus 2.5 and minus 2.5. Hence that little potentiometer here that basically works as a voltage divider to really tune it in. And so the amplification is calculated by the feedback resistor connected to the negative. So R1 divided by R6, so that's 1 times voltage 2 minus voltage 1. So basically in this case it's voltage 2, this one, minus voltage 1. So if we close, for example, this switch on V1, so there's not 5 volts on there but 0 volts. So then it is voltage 2, which is 5 volts minus 0, that is 5 volts, and vice versa, it returns minus 5 volts. And then I trim it down to, well, that range of minus 2.5 and 2.5. Basically that it really hits all the way to the box in my joystick tester. Now these two resistors here are not part of the differential amplifier, but they're current limiting resistors, because if I close this switch, a shitload of current would flow if this resistor isn't there. So I limit it to a 5 milliamp current flowing there. And this is the TL072. And that's an op-amp that I just had lying around. Basically any op-amp in this situation will work. As long as it's ranged 5 volts to minus 5 volts, which basically everyone is. So anyone will really work. And there are nicely 2 in a package. So 2 in an 8-pin package. So we have the same for the left and right. And here we go to that connector. We have the up and down. So that is the Y. And we have the left and right, and that is the X. So this connects to the X pin, and this connects to the Y pin. Then this connects to the plus 5 volt pin. This connects to the minus 5 volt pin of the joystick port, and this connects to the ground. And of course, well, these are the labels for these plus and minus 5 volts that we actually have here. That's your differential. So that circuit is really, really simple, and op-amps generally are really simple. There are a couple of foundational rules in amplifiers. The gain, so the amplification factor, is basically infinite. Well, that is theoretically infinite. It's more like 2 to the power of 50 or something like that. I mean, insane amount. And that's why you limit that feedback. So you're basically limiting the amplification. And the goal of the amplifier, the operational amplifier, is to get the voltage on the two inputs always the same. That is another one. And basically there is an infinite resistor in here. Usually it's around 2 mega ohms. So you can say that no current is flowing into the op-amps. So you can really easily calculate. It's just a resistor network that you calculate. So that's why op-amps are really powerful. If you're not familiar with them, I urge you to really look into them. Because these, together with your NE555, will solve about 50% of your analog circuitry. Let's go to the PCB. So this is the PCB that I created and had JLC PCB print for me. They did 5 of these for $2 and sending it to here in the Netherlands within a week. And the sending cost $17 or something. So for $19 I had everything in 7 days in. Incredible. And the quality is just superb. It's no different than PCBWay. It's just about 50% cheaper, even more. So yeah, it's all SMD. And always when I design a circuit that is something I want to give to you as a free present, just look what you have in your parts bin and use those parts. Because there is no need to think up a circuit and having to buy new parts. Because, well, these TL072s I still had lying around, 4 of them. And I have 110K resistors and 101K resistors. So, I mean, let's use them. And, well, these headers, I did not use these headers eventually. I just sold it straight to the pins, but you could add headers to this, which I also have. And these 2K trimmer pots, the two 10K trimmer pots, I also had laying around, so I chose this footprint. I may have wanted a bit smaller, so the PCB could have been a bit smaller, but yeah, hey. So let's show some footage of me soldering it. I quickly soldered this by hand because I didn't feel like driving all the way to the other side of town to get my toaster oven out of storage. And I use some new, very thin, cheap Chinese solder. Not a winner. Now you don't want a small tip on your soldering iron. You just want small, thin solder. But this stuff is non-leaded, so you see it gives this murky gray. It doesn't really flow nice and quick. So yeah, it's not really a winner. Here you see there's a lot of flux on the board, and still I need to wrangle that cheap ass solder. So I will buy some thin leaded solder. But yeah, eventually I got it all on, and then I gave it a good clean before sticking it in. Always clean before sticking it in. And there it is. Up, down, left, right. And the diagonals doesn't reset it. Yay! And on the inside I just hot glued it in. Yeah, usually I don't like hot glue, but this was nice for this solution. A little PCB there. And the wiring. And those trim pots really allow you to get the ultimate range. Ooh. Oh, I love some good suction on my joystick. That's so nice. The great thing is I can use my thumb. I always thought that button 4 all the way on the right was Ergonomically a very bad choice in this design. I don't know why developers didn't use button 1 more. Yeah, this joystick really made playing a lot of fun. I played a lot. So there you have it. I've been playing a lot with my joystick because it plays so much nicer. And op-amps save the day. Op-amps and the NE555 really get to know them, and you're set for 50% of your analog circuitry. They are awesome, really. Now this won't be my last episode on the Vectrex, because at the same time as my PCBs, the Vectrex came in. So I can create software, put it on the SD card and play it for realsies on the Vectrex. So we're going to write some basic, very elementary games in C just to explore how it works. So that will be kind of cool, and there is some other stuff in the pipeline as well. So I hope you learned something, and see you in the next one. And do me a favor, please subscribe.